We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully your day is going well. We had a run of good guests, and now we're doing a TikTok live again. We're going to talk about some of the happenings of earlier today. When I say today, I'm talking about Monday. You'll be hearing this later down the road. But there's a lot of crazy shit going on, and Donald Trump is making a fool of himself every time he steps up. Every damn time he steps up. He does something stupid. He was sitting in a press conference with French President Macron, and he was talking about Ukraine, all the things he's done for Ukraine, and how he's siding with Vladimir Putin. He went on to suggest that the United States has put $360 billion into the Ukraine-Russia war, and that Europe only put in $100 billion, and those were loans. That's all well and good up until the time that French President Macron taps him on the arm and says, no, Donnie, that's not what happened. We gave them about 60% of everything they've used in that war, and none of it is loans. And you could see Donald Trump's face. He was embarrassed. He was trying to blow it off, but it didn't go well. This is what I've told you about Donald Trump. He fucks up every time. He tries to lie. He tries to just say things and assume people will go with him, because he's always had yes men before, people who will agree to everything that he says. But he's on a different platform, a different stage right now. And in this stage, people are just not going to bend over and placate him. We're pulling in TJ the plumber. TJ's with us frequently. He's also a moderator here, going out and taking down Trump-la-fucks. I appreciate you coming at this late stage of the night, TJ. We had some things I had to do around here, so we went a little later than usual. Thanks for showing up.
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. I can see you too.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
It's nice to have the video.
Yeah. I figured I'd break out of my box a little bit and turn the camera on.
Well, there you go. There you go. I was talking about this situation with the press conference Donald Trump had with French President Macron. Donald was bragging and talking some shit, and Macron was trying to be as cordial as possible, up until the point that Donald Trump just flat out fucking lied. And even Macron couldn't let it go. He had to straighten this shit out. And I love the look on Donald Trump's face when they did that. He was angry. He was embarrassed. He didn't know what to do with himself. Under normal circumstances, he'd yell and scream and threaten, but he couldn't do it in this situation. I love seeing that motherfucker uncomfortable.
Yeah, he was squirming for sure. And like I said to you earlier in a message, more world leaders need to do that to Donald Trump. You know? And I understand that they try to have, diplomacy and decorum and all these things, but he doesn't have any of that shit. So fuck him, right? They just need to show the world that he's a fucking liar.
Well, yeah, exactly. And somebody mentions the governor of Maine, who they had a little butting of heads in a press conference there. Donald Trump tried to intimidate, tried to threaten the governor of the Maine, and this woman just wasn't having that bullshit. Right.
And she stood up to him, which is more than I can say for my governor. He's very proper, and he always wants to, play, diplomat or whatever. But that's bullshit. I mean, Donald Trump is telling governors of this country, you're going to do what I tell you to do, whether you like it or not. Well, fuck that. Why should they have to bend the knee to him?
Now, you mentioned your governor. You're in Pennsylvania, so Shapiro. What's his first name? Josh?
Josh Shapiro, yeah.
Josh Shapiro. And everybody loved Josh Shapiro because he was very polished and a good orator and a smart guy and a clever guy. Here's the thing that troubles me about Josh Shapiro. He's too polished. He's too establishment looking. And it seems to me, my gut reaction is he's more concerned with his position than actually serving the country. I may be totally wrong by that, but that's just my vibe.
Well, I could see where you would draw that conclusion, but I know him personally, and I don't get that vibe from him,
Okay.
He's been, a good friend to my organization. He was great as our attorney general. You know, while he was attorney general, he prosecuted the largest wage theft case in the history of our state, and successfully made a criminal contractor pay money back to their workers. So I don't think that he's just like he is very, you know, very well groomed, and he's, you know, always dressed for the best and all that stuff. But I don't think that he's like an establishment politician. He's just, that's just his personality. But he's really done a lot of good stuff for people in this state. So I'm not going to disparage him in that way.
Well, I don't mean to disparage him. It's just an observation, and you know, maybe it is that he's just very aware of cameras and that sort of thing, and he's very concerned about how he's being perceived. I'll give you a contrast here. We've got Tim Walz here in Minnesota. He also comes off as a very genuine guy and all that sort of stuff, but that's really who he is. I mean, he knows how to play to the cameras, but he comes off more personable, more less polished. And I think in this day and age, after the shit we've gone through with the Democrats and the Republicans, I think this country going forward are going to want more real people as opposed to the standard fare that we've had for decades.
And I agree with you on Tim Walz, because I've met him personally and I spent some time with him, and you're right about that. He's more a people's person, like a, you know, regular middle class kind of guy. So I see that. I agree with you 100% on that. That Walz is more of a people's person, and Shapiro's a little more polished. I agree with that 100%.
Well,
We're bringing Rebecca.
Just...
We're bringing Rebecca in. Hey, Rebecca, we're bringing Rebecca in, and I wanted to ask her too, because what I was just talking about. After all we've gone through Trump, through Biden, and now Trump again, I got to feel that people are going to be looking for a change. They're going to look for somebody they can trust. And at this point, I get the feeling most people in this country don't feel like they can trust politicians at all. Even the Biden administration, there are some things that people weren't sure of. I'm feeling like the next president of the United States, you know, unless it's Shady Vance or something like that, is going to be a dramatic change from anything we've seen before. What do you think, Rebecca?
Oh, I kind of agree with that, although I think some people have learned their lesson about, you know, like, let's put Trump in. He's not a politician. He's going to give us change. So I think people are a little skeptical about that. I think they're going to try to find the least objectionable of the politicians rather than try to hire outside the box.
And that's why I was suggesting Tim Walz. When he was running with Kamala Harris, I thought to myself, Tim Walz would never really be a good presidential candidate because he doesn't fit the mold. And people like somebody who's regular or somebody who's non-political. But the problem with that is if they don't know the system, they can't really run the system. Donald Trump, exactly. That's his problem. The good comparison or the good compromise is somebody like Tim Walz. It doesn't have to be Tim Walz, but somebody like Tim Walz who has a personable side, but also the experience in government and knows how to run the system. That's maybe who we should be looking for.
I feel like if I did not know who Tim Walz was and I met him on the street, I would have never in a million years believe he was a politician.
Right, but he is.
Right, but that's
pretty established one.
Which is, to your point, that's the kind of politician that we need. That guy who, like, I mean, when Tim Walz first, like, was doing research, and I was like, when he first, you know, was nominated for vice president, and I was doing research, and I was like, and most of my research on him, like, would pop up with these awesome videos of like him and his daughter at the fair, like on rides and sharing, you know what I mean? Like it was these like so personable moments that were not there. Those moments like that are not something that you can just fake for a video. You know what I mean? They're honest, true, who he really is in his heart.
Yeah.
Does he have a
And I
great
think,
mind? And is he a good politician? Most definitely. But in his heart, he's a real person, a human being, somebody who loves his family and his kids, has a special needs kid who like that. That's who he truly is in his heart, I believe. And like I said, if you that's the kind of person we need. The person that if the average Joe met him on the street, didn't know they were a politician, would never in a million years imagine they were a politician.
Yeah,
But they know the
and
system.
he has a special needs kids that the Republicans attacked,
yeah,
because he loves his father.
Yeah,
Took
but
the
you know what?
yeah.
Most of us probably wouldn't have ever known he had a special needs kid because he does not advertise the fact that he has a special needs kid. We only know he
Right.
has a special needs kid because the Republicans put it out there. Like he has no reason to like show that his kid is special need or to like put him in the spotlight to use him for any kind of benefit for his political career. You
Yeah,
never would have known. Most of us that don't live in Minnesota or don't know him that well would never have known he had a special needs kid if the Republicans hadn't have like thrown it in our face.
well, my point is that there's no low that they won't cross. They'll
No,
make fun of a disabled child. I mean, there's no how does it get lower than that, Mike?
well, it doesn't get lower than that. And the thing about it is the reason Tim Walz, I believe, doesn't talk about his special needs son isn't because he's a good guy and doesn't want to use that to his benefit. He does it because he loves his kid and doesn't want to put his kid in a bad situation.
Why,
Right.
why would it ever be an issue to the public? Why should that ever be an
It's
issue to the
not.
public?
No,
Yeah,
he
it's
just
not.
wants he just wants to protect his son like any father would.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to pull somebody up here. This is a gentleman by the name of Doug, I believe, if he shows up here. Hey, Doug, how you
Hey,
doing?
Doug.
You're with us.
I'm doing very good. I'm doing very good. Can you guys hear me
Great.
okay?
Yes.
We can hear you
Cool.
fine.
I got my earbuds on. Hey, I'm not sure if I'm a rational boomer or not. I was born in 1965, but I'm pretty rational with an engineering degree.
Well, you're just outside the parameters. It's 46 to 64, so you'd be a Gen X, but you certainly can be a rational boomer when you're hanging out with us.
Well, no,
TJ and Rebecca aren't
we're
boomers.
Gen X. We'll take it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, from Reagan through Bob Dole through George Bush's, I always voted Republican. I voted for Trump one. I voted none of the above, and then I voted for Kamala. Can't believe what's happened. It is just insane. And
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something real
yeah,
quick. You said you voted for Trump in 16, right?
yes, I did.
And you didn't vote for anybody in 2020.
Nevada lets us put in none of the above. Yes,
Okay. How is that different than voting for Donald Trump?
it really wasn't. Um, I knew where Nevada was going to fall, but
Yeah.
I was. The reason was I think it comes from when I was a child. It's the brainwashing, the understanding from a family that conservatism is right and liberalism is wrong,
Hmm.
and in not understanding the difference between socialism and communism, believing they were both the same.
Yeah.
And I think your audience understands the difference. I hope your audience is broader than
Oh,
that. I
I'm sure
hope we
they do.
have some, but I also hope that there's some not necessarily your audience paying attention to tonight's live, because when you realize what the word socialism actually means, our fire departments are socialistic,
Right.
our police
Post
departments,
office,
our ambulance service, our
education.
post office. There's so much that goes into, and then you start realizing, wait, that's not a negative word.
No,
And
no.
when you start seeing people, you know, I kind of listen to it. I'm also life. I won't say lifelong, but I only spent 6 years post college with a job. The rest of the time, I've been an entrepreneur,
Okay.
and it was all about business, all about business, all about. And I thought and I was in an entrepreneurial group when we coached each other. And I always thought that that's what we need. We need an entrepreneur running the nation. So when Trump was running, we thought, well, this is going to be great. And I didn't know a lot about him. I knew he had a TV show. I knew he had this and that. But I thought, I did not like the deficits we ran. I didn't like that we're borrowing so much money, and we have issues with that in our country. But when we look back to what Clinton did, ooh, I was so anti-Clinton back in the day.
Yeah.
But he he
He
eliminated like
balanced the budget.
200. He it was like 250 to 280. I don't know the exact number. He eliminated that many positions of civil servants,
Right.
but he didn't do it like what's happening today. He shrunk the government. He did it kindly. He did it with compassion. It happened over multiple years. It didn't happen all at once with this whole send me an email if you don't want to be fired.
Well, that's
I'm
that's the
sorry, you were
thing.
going
It
to say
isn't.
something. Yeah,
Yeah, the thing is, it isn't so much that he's deporting people. Because let's be honest, he's deporting fewer people than Joe Biden did in his first month or two. Joe Biden deported a lot more people. It's not so
right.
much that he's cutting jobs or trying to find waste. It's the way he's doing it. The fact that there is no strategy, no plan, is just a fucking smash and grab. And I liken what he's doing is like if you go out to weed the garden and you just burn down the whole garden so that you get rid of the weeds. That's what Donald Trump is doing. And it's ignorant, it's stupid, and it's dangerous, and it's going to be destructive in this country.
But
Yeah.
don't you think that there is a small plan in there, and it's mostly to do with Elon Musk. It doesn't really have much to do with Donald Trump. Is that the whole point of him firing all these people is to make sure that those government agencies fail, because ultimately that's what's going to happen when you fire 2,000 people from the Department of Interior. That's going to, the forestry and all that's going to collapse. And the
Yeah.
end goal for that is to privatize every piece of the government that they possibly can. They want to privatize prisons, privatize schools, privatize everything they possibly can, so that corporations can control those things, and the people who control the corporations will be the billionaire class will grow and grow and grow, and they'll control everything about this country.
But if you privatize everything, then there's no need for me to pay federal taxes. How are they going to like that?
They're not going to like that, but they're not
No,
going
they're
to.
not going to
They're
like
not
that.
going to do that either.
But they're going to
All right.
justify it, saying that the corporations have to be paid to pave the roads. The corporations have to be paid to have prison guards. That's how they'll justify everyone still paying taxes.
Well, free market. They always love the free market. If the government is paying these private organizations, then it's not privatizing. The government is still controlling and still paying for it. Privatization means you go out there like this entrepreneur gentleman and fucking start a business and find a way to make money with it. See, that's the thing. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's
Of
all
course.
fucking noise. It's
course.
not real.
Well,
And the more they do this, as far as trying to take people out of position so that it's easier for them to do whatever they want to do, this is going to come to an end eventually. Donald Trump will crash and burn. So will the Republicans. The more he does this, all this does is ensure that when it happens, it's going to be more dramatic, more dangerous. It's instead of somebody impeaching him or giving him the 25th Amendment, something dramatic is going to happen because people won't stand for the way it's going right now. Doug, what do you think?
I agree with you guys on that. And as I see what they're doing, and some of it I kind of have some question about. I understand a lot of what the cuts that Elon has thrown in there, because if you look at the investigations he was under and all the departments that he was being investigated from, I understand them making those cuts. The
Yeah.
one that throws me my mental, I'm just like drawing a brain fart from, is why the national parks and the Forest Service and all of that, the interiors essentially.
Yeah, that struck me as weird as why that was one of the first things they went after too. I don't know if that's like going after the environmental people but that to
Yeah,
me seemed very odd as well.
Because I think
yeah.
the end game, which is never going to happen. Let's be real; it's ridiculous. The end game is for them to control that land. That's the end game,
Yeah.
and that's why they want to do that.
Is it for minerals or
Well,
like what is their end
I
game there to control the land?
I,
I think you're
What are
looking
they
too
gonna?
deeply at this. I think you're looking too deeply at this. Like there's a strategy for everything he does. It's a smash and grab. He's doing everything. It's either a distraction to keep people focused on whatever's going on over here so they can do something that we're either not paying attention to, or it's typical Donald Trump. Let's intimidate you. Let's make a threat. Let's do something to you. Let's sue you. And when that doesn't work, you ramp it up. This
right.
is trying to get people to submit, to calm down, to back off, to demur. And that's the problem. We can't allow that to happen. He's trying to scare us. He's scaring some people. But as Bernie Mac once said, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
But I think that Donald Trump's too stupid to understand what's going on, so he's just letting Elon Musk run roughshod over the whole thing.
Well, he
So
has
so
True.
to.
so Musk is
I
just
agree.
he's telling Musk, hey, do what you got to do, because of course he doesn't understand jack shit. He doesn't know fuck all about anything. So Musk is doing all these things on purpose to cause government agencies to fail, and he can say, look, the government failed. Now we got to privatize these things. And
Yeah.
and it's no secret because even Bill Gates and some of these other billionaires, they're buying up land in this country like crazy. So I'm not
Including
surprised,
farmland.
including farmland. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but when I see that stuff going on, I'm not stupid either. But Trump's too inept to understand a plan that these guys are up to, and that's why Musk is telling him, hey, I'll take care of this. I'll cut all kinds of spending. You'll look like a hero. And of course, Donald Trump believes him, and he likes looking like the great guy, so he's dumb enough to believe it.
Well, and Trump is completely beholden to him because he spent all the money to get him elected. And I'm sure Elon, as good as Trump is at playing the blackmail game, I have a feeling Elon's even better.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of stuff he has on Trump over there, like friendship that, he paid for his election, did whatever else for his election, kept him out of jail. And that's why that whole Oval Office thing happened without Trump blowing a gasket, without, like, we're all like, when is this friendship going to end? When's Trump going to blow up? But that may not happen because there's like behind the scenes stuff going on there that
It,
is more detrimental to Trump, and he would go to jail probably without if he like outs Elon.
it runs
I think
way deeper than just campaign contributions. And you could see that in Trump's face when they had that crazy press conference in the Oval Office. Trump sat there like a little bitch the whole time, and the little kid told him off, and Donald Trump didn't say jack shit.
Yeah,
That shows me that it's way deeper than just a pile of money.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Muskrat has way more freaking blackmail game than Trump does.
Yeah, no doubt.
it,
The interesting thing, if you look at that video with that kid, and you watch what Donald Trump does, the kid walks up to the thing and he says, "You're not the president. You're in my daddy's chair. You got to leave." Whatever he says. When the kid walked up to the desk, and Trump's just looking there, sitting obediently to Elon. He's just sitting there, and the kid walks up and he starts talking. This is exactly what Donald Trump did. Like, I can't hear him. I'm not even paying attention. He was embarrassed at that point,
like
and
a
he
little
still
kid.
did nothing about it.
It's like a little kid, like when my brother and I were kids in the backseat of the car, waving our hands in our face. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. You
I'm not
can't see
touching
me.
you. I've done that many times.
I'm trying to figure out which one of those two are playing the role of Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
don't
Well,
hey,
That's a lovely
don't
visual. Thank
put
you so much,
don't
Doug.
put that mental picture in this live,
Yeah.
please.
So,
well. Now wait a
you
minute.
know,
Did you see the meme? Did you see the meme that went out, or the video that went out?
The foot
In
one,
the
yeah.
Yeah, in the Department of Housing and urban development. The people were sent back to the offices to work there from being remote employees. They got back into the office, and on every video screen, on every computer screen, was a video of Donald Trump caressing and kissing Elon Musk's feet. Now, some people say it's AI. I don't know for sure. It could be real. But that is an absolute embarrassment for Donald Trump. And it just shows that not only are people thinking bad things of Donald Trump and Elon Musk, it seems like anybody can hack into the computer system in the government at this point. It's fucking simple. They can come in and do pranks on our U.S. government. That is a little frightening.
Yeah, that video was funny, but that's a different set of imagery compared to what was just said, which is a little more palatable to me. I'm
I'm
just saying.
sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying. I don't
Thanks,
want to
Doug.
think about
It'll
those
live in my
things.
head.
Yeah.
I think we got to understand Donald Trump's role in this situation. I think people want to believe he's a mastermind playing 3D chess when it comes to Vladimir Putin, when it comes to Elon Musk, when it comes to the oligarchs. Donald Trump has one role, and that is useful idiot. He doesn't have the brains or the attention span to get things done. He's being pulled around and treated like a puppet by other evil people or criminal people, and he's doing their bidding. Basically, it's like Pavlov's dog. Do this, Donnie, and they'll love you for it. Okay, I'll do that. I'll sign that. That's pretty much what's going on with Donald Trump.
Well,
I don't
exactly.
think you could win a game of checkers, much
No,
less
No.
3D
no.
chess.
If there was
No.
a pants shitting contest, he would definitely win that. He is quite prolific at shitting his pants.
Right.
Well,
Yeah. And well, I've also, well, maybe not we, but I will say that I've seen a whole lot about why they're trying to do all this with the public lands is because of drill, baby, drill, but it's not going to happen. It's
They
like
don't
the
want to
Anwar
drill.
thing.
No,
no.
Anwar has been a battle back and forth up there in Alaska, but nobody has ever drilled on it.
no.
Nobody's owned the leases that could drill on them. And if
Right.
any of you follow one of the folks I follow, which is Mr. Global, we know that that's
Yes.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
You
All
Right.
the oil companies already told him to fuck himself. They're not going to do any of that shit. And there's like
Yeah,
2,700 leases that Joe Biden approved a lot of them. I don't know about all 2,700, but there's like 2,700 leases out there that they're not particularly interested in hurrying up to drill on.
No.
They're not stupid. They're not going to drill themselves out of existence because that's what
yeah.
Donald Trump did to him in the first place. He made that deal with the Saudis and it fucked over the American oil companies, and like there was a 50% increase in bankruptcies in oil companies in this country. They're not
Yeah.
stupid. They're not going to do that.
You
They
are
told them,
absolutely correct.
yeah, they told them to fuck. They told Donald Trump, "Fuck yourself. We ain't doing that."
I would have to
Yeah.
think more that parkland makes beautiful resorts and condos and development areas more than anything else.
Yeah.
I concur.
Well,
I hope you're not planning a vacation to one of our national parks this summer, though, because they don't have
yeah.
anybody to run them.
Right?
They're going to
Nope.
be
Yeah.
shutting down. I heard Yosemite's already not taking reservations, and
Not,
I'm
I
a
heard
West
it.
Coast guy,
I'm not
so
traveling much of anywhere, and if it involves me flying on an airplane. So,
Well, yeah, there's that too. And I heard at Yosemite National Park, some of the park rangers or somebody put a flag up on a stone wall or a mountain or something, and it's upside down as if there's distress. So there's a lot of people that are angry in these national
mhm.
parks, and there will be a lot of people angry when they go out this summer trying to do what they do. This is what Donald Trump is going to do. He's going to make it uncomfortable, inconvenient, or intolerable for virtually everybody in this country. So it'll be interesting to see how people react to that. I know how I'm going to react to it. It's like I've been reacting for the last 4 years. We'll see how some of the slow people catch up.
And I want to say thank you for that reaction. I haven't been out there in the face of it all, but you have, and you've put the word out. And as somebody who's not a creator, I just want to say I really appreciate what you and a lot of others are doing.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't necessarily call myself a creator. I'm an old man sitting in his living room with a bad attitude and a loud mouth. That's what I am. I don't know what that category comes into. I throw it out there, and if people want to hear it, cool. If they don't, that's cool too. Fortunately, we have some people that want to listen to it, as crazy as that may seem. But Doug, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
All
Thanks,
right. Well,
Doug.
you all have. I'm going to continue to listen. You all have a good night. You can kick me out if you like, or I'll just sit here.
Good
Either
night,
way.
Doug.
Well, no,
Night, Doug.
I'm trying to move in as many people as we can, and if the more people we have in the room, the more convoluted it gets. But I appreciate you coming on.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Is Eric around
All
tonight?
right.
Because I really want to talk about this woman in Iowa, and I really want to get his opinion on it.
Don't see. I don't
I-
see Eric as
I
yet.
haven't seen him either.
Hey, JD, here's an idea. JD, drop out real quick and get Eric, because if I drop out, I'll be out of the chat.
All right, Eric just popped on.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, yay.
So we're bringing on Eric, the analytical Iowan.
Receive.
And I love having Eric on, and here's why. Because I'm a more big picture guy. I talk about the wider ranging things. But when people ask me questions where details are needed, I'm not much good. Thankfully, Eric is of great value when it comes to that. So welcome on the live,
Well,
Eric.
he was late. He was late. He was looking for a pair of pants, so he got here
Yeah.
finally.
I didn't
Yeah,
even
the
know
running
you guys
joke.
recorded. I just happened to see you were live. And I'm like, oh,
TJ really, he said to me earlier, he's like, I think I'm going to hang a pair of pants up behind me on the live tonight.
nice.
Yeah,
Eric,
yeah.
I want to
So-
hear about, I want to hear all about your take on Teresa Borens Poole,
Oh,
the woman who was dragged out of the town hall.
That happened in Idaho.
Was it Idaho? Oh, I thought it was Iowa.
That happened in Idaho, but we can talk
Oh,
about that.
no, I hadn't heard
Yeah,
about
let's talk about it.
Let's
You
talk
haven't
about
heard
that.
about it?
Oh my
No.
God!
Oh, jeez.
It was a civil rights violation like no other.
Okay.
This woman went to a town hall meeting with some, I presume it's a Trump-la-fuck, by listening to the content of what was said, a Trump-la-fuck congressman or senator, I don't know which, but she voiced her opinion, and I actually think she ran as a Democrat for that seat, so she, had an interest in being at that town hall meeting, and she, blurted out a couple of things. I don't know what what those things specifically were that she said, but she was approached by someone who was apparently the sheriff. He wasn't in uniform, so he had a hat on that said sheriff. So I imagine that he probably is. But she got in a confrontation with him. She was not causing a disturbance. She was sitting in her seat, and this sheriff told her she had to leave. And she said, "No, I'm not leaving. I get out of here. This is a public meeting, or a public assembly. I can be here." And he said, "You got to leave. You got to leave." And then he motions for some people off camera, and these two guys in black jackets show up, and they
Wow.
they physically grab her, and she asks them, "Are you police officers?" And they didn't answer the question, so we know what the answer is.
Obviously not. You have to identify yourself.
Because if you're a police officer and someone asks you, "Are you a police officer?" you have to tell them that you're a police officer. They refused to answer the question. They grabbed her physically, assaulted her, pulled her out of her seat, put zip ties on her, drug her out of that public town hall. So not only did they assault her, they violated her First Amendment right and her Fourth Amendment right, and they kidnapped her out of a public place. Like those, and the sheriff condoned it. The sheriff stood there and said, "Get out of here and let the private citizens assault a woman, men assault a woman in public," and did nothing. If that sheriff isn't held accountable, that is the biggest fuck up in history, because that was absolutely wrong. And it made me sick to watch that video of those guys assaulting that woman.
From what I've read and the videos I've watched of it, all she did was she shouted several times, "Is this a town hall or a lecture?" And yes, she did
Yeah.
run for a Democratic position in that county. I'm not sure what the position was,
So,
but
so I did some research after I watched that video, because some cities and counties and places have some weird rules about you know disrupting a public meeting. And I looked into that county. I forget the name of it now, but I couldn't find anything in their ordinances or rules that said anything about it. But here's the thing, that there's rules about, like, I chair some public authority, so there's rules about people being in that meeting and disrupting the meeting. You can't go in there and disrupt the meeting so that that the governmental business can't be conducted. Just like the insurrection, they can't go in there and disrupt Congress. It's the same like for local government or state government, federal government. So I looked into that and I couldn't find anything about that. But technically, is a town hall meeting a public hearing, or is it just a public assembly? And my interpretation of
might be
that,
an event run by parliamentary procedure.
but yeah, my interpretation of that with my experience is that that was a public assembly. It was not a public meeting because no governmental business was conducted in that meeting. It was just a public assembly. So
Right.
they had no right to put their hands on her and drag her out of that meeting. They had no right to do that. Even if they were law enforcement, they had no right to do that.
Well, and
Well, the question. Go ahead, Eric.
one of the sad things is, beyond everything that happens, when it ultimately gets resolved, whether or not the sheriff keeps his job, it'll probably end up in a lawsuit where she makes some money out of this deal from the county or whatever, and it's going to be paid on the backs of the taxpayers in the county.
Yeah.
But they're going to sit there and still cheer this guy.
Yeah, but you know what, Eric? Let them pay, because those pieces of shit in that meeting, they were cheering them, dragging that girl out of that. Not everyone, but a lot of them. You could see them clapping and cheering that they were silencing that girl from her First Amendment right.
I don't know if you guys are
Well,
are you guys on the Donald Trump jail tracker page
No.
on Facebook? It's very informative. I love it. They have so much stuff on there. But somebody actually posted the business card of the security company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to come of that. I wish I'd have screenshot it actually in hindsight. But
It's going to get
We'll
it's going to
find it,
get
but-
busy. It's going to get busy up in that bitch. I'm going to bring somebody else on. This is a young woman who was asking to come on. Her name is Cora. Cora,
Hi.
you're with us
Can you
right
hear me?
now. How are you doing? We can hear you.
Good. Hold on. I've been writing a few things down that you said. First of all, earlier you were talking about an analogy about you thought Trump was like burning the whole garden down.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you said that, I recently got sent the foreword that J.D. Vance wrote to that book, he wrote the foreword to that book, Red Dawn.
Project 24.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Red Dawn. Yeah.
The foreword, this is what J.D. Vance wrote, is that basically he wants to burn all the liberals down. And he used the same analogy you used about the garden.
Wow.
Yes, it's in the foreword that he basically, gardeners basically use chemicals just to treat their garden. But to take back Washington, we need to get rid of basically the liberals and just burn the whole garden down. So when you said that,
Wow.
I wanted to bring that to your attention. And then you said something else about the national parks. And I don't know about this with the national parks, but I do have information. Okay, so you know how they're going back on their federal funding with the farmers?
Yeah.
Okay, so J.D. Vance, he is an investor to Acre Trader and NARA,
Right.
And they're buying up all the farms that are going under. And that's kind of, I don't know if a lot of people know that, or maybe you already knew that. I'm sorry, but I just thought that was kind of information that people should know.
Well, we were talking about that the other day on this show when we were talking about the farmers getting screwed over, and then somebody brought up that J.D. Vance does have some investments in big corporate entities that are buying up farmland, not unlike they're buying up personal homes and condos and stuff, so they can control the situation. It's unfortunate, but you're absolutely right. The fact that people are buying up farmland, that's been going on for a long time, though. It's
Yeah.
not just J.D. Vance now. It's been going on for decades. That's why you've got so many corporate farms and so much fewer, family farms.
Yeah, I just thought it was odd though that he's involved in the one that the acre trader, and I think it's Narra. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's not surprising, though, because he is a corrupt Republican motherfucker. So
Yeah, but if you want me to
it's not
send you
surprising.
that forward of what was sent to me so you can read it, it's it's bad. Like, he wants to take anybody that doesn't agree with him. So I think he has a lot more control of this situation than we all think. Like, I really think Project 2025 is, the Heritage Foundation has a lot to do with this. Yes, Musk and Trump, and I think they're basically just taking everything. But I really think this is Project 2025, and this is J.D. Vance, and I think he's got more control than we think. Just because,
Yeah. I don't think he has control. I think he's feeding off what he's hearing from Donald Trump. Let's be honest. J.D. Vance is a weak ass motherfucker. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't even think he should be the next president. He doesn't have the charisma. He doesn't have the control. He's not that smart. He is in bed with tech bros, so he does have some money and he might be investing in this stuff. I just don't think that anybody looks at him as a true leader. I don't get that impression when I see him. And that's why I'm thinking when Donald Trump steps aside or chokes on a Big Mac, J.D. Vance would be the president, but I think he would be totally under the control of whatever evil motherfuckers are around.
well, I think that Heritage Foundation, I really do. I think I think the Heritage Foundation is controlling a lot more than we think. You guys probably already
Oh,
know.
no question. Yeah, no question.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to spam you, but I didn't know if you guys knew that about the acre trading and that forward.
No, we appreciate it. Anytime we can get further information about anything. I mean, this is what we've got to do out here. There's only so much we can do, and keeping people informed is the best thing we can do so people know what the hell they're talking about. I talk to Democrats, I talk to Republicans. They repeat things that they see in the headlines, but they don't know all the facts. So it's important doing this sort of thing. So I appreciate it, Cora.
Yep. Thank you guys. Sorry to spam you. I don't know how to get out.
Yeah.
I don't know how to go
No,
down.
I'll disconnect you, but you're more than welcome anytime you want to come on. You didn't do anything wrong. You did everything right, and I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Thank
Oh,
you.
and
I got a personal problem with J.D. Vance.
Okay.
He's trying to put our good friend J.D. Farmer out of business.
Yeah.
And I take reservation with that.
Yeah.
Well, let's call up J.D. Farmer and find out what you mean by that. J.D. Farmer is a frequent guest, not only on the lives but on the podcast. And J.D. is I think he's a Gen Z farmer.
Yeah.
And so what's going on now? Are you finally getting a bite of what's going on with all these cuts?
Well, I just was commenting on the acre trader thing that she was talking about, and like
Okay.
it's been happening for probably 50 years.
That's what I was thinking.
So it started out, family farms 50 years ago were, a couple hundred acres, and you could pretty much live off that couple hundred acres. Now, all these farms are being, the old timers die off, and then all the kids get it in the estate, and they get split up, and then they get split up again, and then they get split up again, and farming gets more expensive, and so less people are able to get into farming, and so it just gets bought up by these investors and stuff that, like half the ground that we farm is owned by investors that are in like Chicago, and
Yeah.
half of them we've never even met the landowners. It's just managed by banks,
Right.
So we only deal with the farm manager that has been hired by the investor to represent the landowner. So
Well, and like you say, this has been going on a while. that doesn't diminish what Cora was trying to bring up, because it continues. And I get the feeling with the way the Republicans handle things, they have done it for a long time, but it seems like they're trying to ramp this up, make it bigger, quicker, and that is troublesome.
Yeah, it is, and that doesn't surprise me. I'm not really sure. I've never used that app or whatever, but there's some out there like that have been around for a while, like Farm Business Network has been doing some of that, and so farmers know where the shady areas are, you know. But
I'm just looking at some of the comments here, and some guy named Sven,
Yeah.
and this is what he said. I don't know. I just blocked him because he's a dipshit. Not even because I was offended by it, but because he's clearly stupid. Sven says, "Fight us all you want, Gramps. Gen X is the world."
I blocked them.
we
Let me
all
ex-
want them. We're not for nothing, but most of us in Gen X are not that far from you there, Ramps.
Well, and that's the point. You know, I was born in 1960. Gen X starts in 64, 65. So I'm that far from Gen X. I say rational boomer because of the irony of it, because I am an actual boomer. But Gen X, I don't care about Gen X, Gen Z, JD's a Gen Zer. I don't care about that. I care about people that are smart, that are lawful, that believe in justice and democracy. You could be my age, born on the same day in the same fucking hospital, and if you believe the other way, I don't fucking like you. It has nothing to do with age. It has to do with intellect. And when I said,
and human rights.
well,
yeah,
well, the Sven guy, you know, he's trying to insult me, which he really can't do. I don't block him because he insulted me. I block him because that's fucking lame and stupid. And we got a lot better people coming on this live than this dumb fuck.
Yeah, for
Anyway.
sure. And I'm Gen X, and you and I are 15 years apart, so it's hardly like I could call you Gramps by any means.
Hey,
No.
Mike. Danny
Yeah.
said you're just a kid. I was born in 1950.
Wow. Yeah, I am just a kid by comparison. You know, that was the weird thing. People won't believe this, but all my life, every job I ever had, I was far and away the youngest guy, and every time I was in a job. And now I walk in a room and everybody goes, "Is he okay? Is he going to make it?" I'm the oldest fucker in the room now. It's just weird. Mark says, have you guys learned about the insane new budget the Republicans are pushing? It's insanity. Yeah, we've talked about the budget. And as far as I'm concerned, this budget is almost guaranteed failure because it's Donald Trump's concept. Donald Trump's like a child. He needs immediate gratification, so he's stuffing everything in there he can. He tells people that he's not going to cut Medicare or Medicaid, but of course that's in the budget. They are going to have a hell of a time with that budget. And, you know, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm glad it's this big a mess because it's going to be that much easier to turn down, and even Republicans will have to push back on it.
Well, yeah, like I said the other night on the live, I think what's going to happen is they're going to try this big budget. It's going to fail, and it's going to fail spectacularly. And then they're going to have to go to the Democrats and pass something bipartisan, which is going to restore all the funding. They're going to have to, you know, restore USAID, get Elon Musk out of everything, I hope. You know, that the Democrats hold the line on all of it. I think that's what they end up having to do, and Hakeem Jeffries holds all the cards. But for those people mad at Hakeem for not playing that card yet, they have to fail. If they still think they can pass this budget on their own without Hakeem. They need to try and fail first before he has any power, before he has any strength.
That's true. I'm not mad at Hakeem about not pressing them on this. I'm mad at Hakeem about sticking too close to Pelosi and Schumer and trying to play the take the high road thing.
Yeah.
Hakeem has the ability to be a tough guy, a sharp-tongued guy, and like we've said all along, we're in a different kind of fight than we were in 2005. This is a fucking street fight, so you better be able to fight on that level.
Yeah, he needs to drop the old timers and just be his own man. Like that's just ridiculous. Like, what does he need them for? Like
Not
he,
anymore.
he has enough experience and a good enough record. He can stand on his own. He does not need them or their approval.
Well,
I read there's a young person that's going to challenge Pelosi in the midterms.
God, I
Good.
hope so. Good.
Yeah.
That's the best news I've heard in a while.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but I think it's someone that worked with AOC too for a while.
Wow,
Good.
that would be interesting. Let me ask you, I had an idea, and I want you guys to tell me what you think of this idea. I get ideas from time to time. A lot of them are stupid. A lot of them are absolutely fucking brilliant, but not everybody agrees with that. So, when we look at Congress, Republicans are a shitstorm. They should all go away. Democrats, we've got a handful of really good people and some other people that just don't do anything. They're there to collect a check and maintain power. And people have talked about having a third party, and I think we all agree that a third party won't work. It's never worked in the past. There's too much money in the Democrats and the Republicans. They control it too much. A third party won't work. But what if we did this? What if we organized and primaried every Democrat running in the House in 2 years, every Democrat running in the Senate? Give these fuckers a run for their money and expose these people for the bullshit they've done or how they've been lazy. That would be a way to instill new candidates without creating a new party. Now, you wouldn't necessarily win every primary, but you'd make these fuckers work, make them talk, and make them maybe adjust what they're doing. If we get lucky and we get a few of them that are close and maybe win one or two, we just keep doing that until we flush these motherfuckers out.
I think it's a good idea, but there's some problems with the idea. Is that
Okay.
to run a campaign on a federal level for Congress or Senate costs an enormous amount of money. Like you can get on the ballot, sure. Like you can file and do everything you need to do, but to get out there and run all the media ads and have a campaign staff, it costs a ton of money. So we really have to like maybe create a citizens grassroots approach to it where small donations from regular Joes like everybody on the street contributes to a PAC that you could fund that race in every jurisdiction. It would be
Or I could just call my good friend George Soros and say, Georgie boy,
no,
I
listen.
I need $1 billion, and we're going to change some shit up.
He's already writing you too many checks, so he's not going to be on board with this idea. So just
You know
so
what?
you know,
There's Trumplefucks out there going, see, I told you. I knew it.
that's true.
They are.
You laugh, but I've been accused of that. And I'm not even making it up. Some idiot fucking accused me. Yeah, JD, Rebecca knows who it is. I'm not going to say the person's name. But some fucking idiot, because I disproved him on some of his Trumplefuck shit. He said, you must get checks from George Soros.
Yeah, he literally did say that. I saw the text.
let me just say this: if George Soros called me up and said, "Mike, I'm going to give you a big check," I would take that motherfucker and cash it immediately. I'm not too proud, long as it's for the right thing.
Before he gets a chance to take it back.
Now, if Elon Musk said, "Here's a big check to talk the shit he talks," I would never do that. But I'll take money to do what I'm already doing. Unfortunately, George doesn't know who I am. I'm not getting any money at all from these motherfuckers. I'm gonna see if I can bring somebody else in here. I like to keep this moving. Let's go with. All right, let's see here. Tracy. We'll see if she pops up here. Hey, Tracy, how you doing? Tracy. Maybe Tracy ran to the bathroom.
No, Tracy. Hey, Mike, Dolphin asked to come in. She's okay. She's good.
Okay. Yeah, I like Dolphin. I mean, a lot of these.
Primarying everybody, Mike.
Yeah.
There's a couple problems with that. Beyond the money involved, But we would have to only primary the one. Not every Democrat would need to be primaried for one.
No.
Two,
No, we got the good ones.
if they're in close districts, we don't want to primary them. We need to use
Yeah.
the same thing Republicans use against us, which is name recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. True.
if we maybe we knock out somebody in the primary, put in somebody better, but if they don't have the name recognition, now we might lose that seat.
Yeah.
And
Incumbents
so,
incumbents have an advantage in every election.
yeah,
Mostly.
but
Yeah.
people like
Yeah,
Pelosi who are in a very safe district that's almost guaranteed to always go blue. I agree. Primary the hell out of them and hope
Right.
they get beat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we don't
I've got
want to be beat at our game in that.
I've got somebody we haven't heard from for a while. He was on one time. Everybody seemed to like him. British John. British John, how you doing?
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. I thought I'd add some class and the British accent and get some insight from somebody from across the pond who's here in the country about how fucked up people in Europe think we are.
I'm looking at this panel, and including the mirror. I don't see any class, sir. I don't. Do you want to? Do you want to borrow mine?
No, I'm good.
I.
I'm good.
In fact, only this morning, my wife referred to me as classless. Oh no, she said I'd be late getting my child to class. Anyway, different situation. Um, yeah, so much. Well, it's not that long since we talked, and yet so much has happened.
Yes.
That's
First of
because
all,
every day is a new shit show, John. Every day.
I don't disagree. So, first of all, you inspired. So, I never emailed you about joining your podcast, and that's just
No, you
because we've
didn't.
got nope. So you have my apologies. The reason being, this is I have this is the busiest 3 weeks of my year. This is like getting the crop in. I'm working on a thing I can't talk about for corporate work, and this pays the bills, and that's why I'm working this late at night. And you're kind of like, I have this on in the background. It's kind of like my ASMR. Anyway, you inspired you and your team, you and your fellows inspired me.
Scratch the mic for you.
Really did sound like I was scratching my own wooden testicle for a moment, but anyway, I
Hey, John, we don't like excuses in this podcast or in this live. I'm
Yeah.
just letting you know. But go on.
But go ahead.
wasn't as my old CEO say, it's not an excuse, it's a reason, bitch.
Okay, there you go.
God, God, I miss him. Hands like sandpaper, truly erotic. Anyway, so so
Sorry, Rebecca.
you you inspire me. You got me thinking because I I can't tour for a little while, but I want to. There's so much going on, and I want to be able to put my spin on it and meaningfully. Hard news is easier to digest with humor. So I started on my page. This is the pimpy bit. On my page, I do a daily thing, and it's called the American Experiment, and it's a maximum of 3 minutes long because YouTube Shorts. Um,
Yeah.
and I look at the new. Everything I do is sourced, but I bring satire and humor to it. And the reason I'm here is because the one that went up a couple of hours ago, you directly inspired. And if I'm not going to share the whole thing, but I wonder if I might just share with you the first paragraph or so.
Okay.
Um, Day 36 of Trump 2.0, and despite snoring last night, my wife still hasn't called ICE. Sometimes Trump takes a day off from drafting royal proclamations. I do apologize. Executive orders. So, in the absence of today's installment of legally questionable, hastily scrawled decrees of asinine bureaucratic chaos, let's take a moment to appreciate the havoc he's already unleashed. America first, farmers last. USAID just got the axe, leaving 30,000 tons of food aid rotting at the Houston port instead of feeding the hungry. Farmers, especially in Wisconsin, are drowning in surplus. Dairy, grain, and soy producers are watching their margins vanish. And I, ever the patriot, am doing my damnedest by consuming as much cheese as possible. But there's only so far I can push my lactose tolerance. Someone's going to have to pick up the slack. But sure, let's keep telling farmers that real patriotism is voting for the guy who's who left their soybeans to rot. MAGA might as well stand for "Make Agriculture Go Away."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Mandela.
It's
Yep.
JD.
Uh-huh.
So, if you, I do enjoy writing, um,
we enjoy hearing it.
the rest of it goes on about Elon and Trump accidentally uniting Europe, but no, I look at this internationally. It's become America's become here's a new word,
A,
a joke we take
a
seriously.
joke. Yeah.
A
No,
pariah?
but we
Are
take
we a
seriously.
pariah now?
No, you're not a pariah. You're just not trusted. The in the Intel community, my world, we use the phrase "we've changed the ciphers," so they won't share information with America anymore unless it's incredibly high priority. Shared investigations will be few and far between because until now, no one ever considered, and you might find this hard to believe um, as an in-house audience, but NSA, CIA, NRO, and all the other, interesting, fun, cool kids, they were never political.
No.
We knew they were for American advantage, but now there is a severe perception, especially with Tulsi Gabbard, who apparently I am not allowed to insult because she's a veteran, albeit a veteran of Russian disinformation. uh, is considered to be a threat because you don't know how intelligence will be used. So if you don't know how it's going to be used, you don't share it. That's how it goes down. So everyone's talking about the fifth eye blind as a sort of thing on the WhatsApp group. Um, then you get the European situation with Ukraine. Someone said to me the other day, it takes 60 senators to change a treaty to withdraw America from NATO. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. But no one's ever asked the question, should America be thrown out of it? That doesn't,
Yeah.
you don't get to vote on that.
Right.
By the way, the headquarters are in Brussels and the operational headquarters are in Frankfurt. Just for you kids watching, the Bulgar bulge is not part of the female anatomy. Okay, Google it. It's not what you think it is. All right, protecting the the Bulgar gorge has nothing to do with your daughter. Okay, however much weight she's put on, just we'll
Yeah.
make that clear. I don't want your TikTok, your live to be taken down because somebody misunderstood what a Bulgar was. Just very important there, sir. Um, but Trump has done the impossible. I think in the next couple of weeks, I think we will see Europe create a integrated defense force. Macron's already talked about not having frontline troops in Ukraine, but having peacekeepers, which is code for "don't you fucking dare" because Poland's behind us. You know how tetchy they are to start something. For those of you that don't know, Poland is the crazy kid with the F-150 that plays the music too loud, is always letting off guns, and you wish they wouldn't. They have a whole
Yeah.
country for that.
They're
Um,
no
and, and
nonsense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been on the edge for 3 years. They're about ready
they've
to
and they've been on the edge since the formation of the Warsaw Pact, and now they've got
sure,
F-35s.
sure, sure.
Um, literally, they just wouldn't be let off the chain. Um, the So I think that could well happen. The fact that Keir Starmer is going to be in town this week, the Prime Minister of Britain, and before the comments chime up, I don't care about Keir Starmer. He and I have fundamental disagreements, and not because he uses too much hair product. Okay, good hair requires nothing. Just saying. Okay.
I wouldn't know.
I would know.
Eric wouldn't know.
That was a horrible thing to say to these guys. I apologize, chaps. They're all they're all founder members of Bush Talk. If you know, you know. Anyway, so Keir Starmer is going to be in town, and I think one of the things that will not be in the press conference is interview is the fact that the UK is probably going to ask for full control of Trident, because what a lot of people don't know right now is that it does require American. It's nothing to do with GPS, but it does require access to. It does require American permission. to let loose the nuclear deterrent. And respectfully, if you've got Russia, playing silly buggers, do you really want to be waiting on Trump to make a decision? No.
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 No, hell no.
So to the guy that said, "May you live in interesting times," go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
would like to. I can't imagine life without garden gummies right now. Um, mean, Meanwhile, I'm bringing it back to US aid, and I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but I'm trying to cram a lot into a short period of time. Interesting thing. So we talked about this last time, but despite the accent, I have an American wife and an anchor baby. I got my immigration the old-fashioned way. Um,
There you go.
and Mrs. British Comedy has a is in the farming family. We own a good chunk of the line out of land in Sedgwick County, where Colorado and Nebraska kind of collide. And we just had, we were very fortunate when it happened, but we will not be getting a contract from USAID for wheat, for dwarf wheat this year. So it doesn't affect us because nothing was in the ground yet because of the shitty weather. You know what the seed will just rot right now. If we put it in the ground, it won't do anything except destroy itself.
Yeah.
So it looks like, yeah, it looks like we're going to be growing beans this year because it's a short crop, and we could use the nitrogen for next year, and we can sell that on the Chicago market. So we won't. Well, hopefully, that's why you have crop insurance. But we were lucky that whilst we'd made the commitment, we hadn't committed any resources to it. We hadn't
Right.
bought seed, so. And we spent so much money. And here's another thing: energy costs were so high last year. We spent a fortune on grain drying. That was an unexpected bill. Oh, the other reason for not putting some of that stuff in is there's some questions about about how we're going to get our potash from Canada
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
I've
we
been
need
wondering
Yeah.
about
we
that too.
we need potash that doesn't contain. I'm going to go with sodium. I've just forgotten what it is, but the stuff from New Mexico is PNS, PNK, and we don't need that. That would put the wrong stuff into our soil. So there you go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know really what the fertilizer is going to look like for a while.
Yeah,
I'm a grain farmer. I'm a farmer too. I'm in Illinois, but
yeah. But the thing. So that's why we're probably going to put beans in. Because it's a quick short crop. We can do it over summer, and it'll put more nitrogen back in. So then whatever we put in we'll probably put in winter wheat, and that'll sit well on top of that.
Well, let me ask this question to JD and John. What do you think the impact on USAID getting shut down is going to have moving forward on farmers?
well, the market's going to shrink, and so that's going to make the prices drop because the market it's going to be a flooded market, and that's I mean if you have low demand for corn or soybeans and you have a ton of that crop, the prices are going to just plummet. Meanwhile,
Uh,
the input prices are going to go up because of the tariffs.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Fertilizer, chemicals, all that. That's all going to go up.
Yeah, with everything he says is true. We're only going to put in specialty wheat and corn this year. We won't put in generics.
Yep.
As we need the uplifted price. We know the ground. So the weather was Derek said something funny the other day. He said, John, sometimes we just farm the crop insurance on purpose, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I get it. Um,
Yeah.
um, some, Sometimes you put seed in the ground knowing that the hail ain't finished its job yet. But yeah,
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing it's going to affect too is insurance companies. We know how the insurance companies were impacted in California with the fire. You're going to have insurance companies screaming because a lot of people are going to be making crop claims. It's not going to be here and there. It's going to be fucking everybody.
and the weather. I mean, we haven't had predictable weather for 5 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it literally has been drought. or famine or drought every single time. Um, we get these massive rains and then nothing in late spring. It dries out, and then we can only get so much water into the aquifer. Uh, People don't. And this is what frustrates me is uh the guy on what's his name, Skyler, who was on TikTok, who was banging on about how he didn't get his 80 grand from the government and all that stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that he left out of that was so disingenuous. This isn't like there is so much good. We get grants for for margins. So depending on the field and the territory, the terrain, it's always different. But it's between 10 and 20 feet that we set aside, and we put wildflowers in it, and we get paid to do that. But here's the creature: that's to help with pollination because bees are really important.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you've no idea
Yeah.
how, like, no bees, no food. Not just that field, everywhere. And so, we get paid to set that aside because it has no value. Like we do, we will get harvested, but all we're going to do is sell a couple of short bales. So it frustrates me that so little information went out, and so people didn't understand the value. And which is why I only wrote a paragraph there because I could talk about this ad nauseum and very eloquently. People don't understand the relationship between SNAP benefits, EBT, and the dairy. There's a reason you get so much dairy. Okay, there's a reason for it, and ironically, it goes back to World War II and the fact that you had 17 ships that made ice cream, didn't carry ice cream, made it made it. Battle groups carried an ice cream ship. That's an actual thing.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Eh,
Well, you didn't. There was no liquor, so you had ice cream. Um, yeah.
So instead of getting drunk and crashing your car, you died of cholesterol.
Well, to be fair, it was Wildcats and P-52s.
Yeah.
And so no drinking's not a bad thing. No, I just the world we're living right now. It's just. I've had
It's
so
coming
many
down.
people talking about, oh, with your privilege. And I'm like, actually, no, I have a pretty good life, but I am conservative in my own right. I don't have solar panels because I'm green. Don't get me wrong. There's benefits to being green. I have them because I have two electric SUVs outside. And,
Right. And
and
you live in Nebraska.
no, I live in California.
Oh, I thought you
Hell,
were in Nebraska. That's where
the
your
farms,
farms are.
the farms are on the Colorado-Nebraska border.
Okay.
That's where the family's originally out of Big Springs. Trust me, you either live there or you move out. It's one of those. There's no
Yeah.
choices. Everyone goes back there, but that's just because that's where we send the ashes in the coffins. But
Gotcha.
no, everything I do is to basically. I figured out a long time ago that PG&E can't charge me inflation on the sun.
True. True.
Um,
Yeah.
so I drive. We conservatively do 60,000 miles a year, me and my wife, between those two cars.
Wow.
And I spent $2,000 in additional energy beyond what I collected off the roof. Like, what crops do I grow? Depends. Wheat, corn, maize, beans, just watermelons, pumpkins, just multiple crop rotations, multiple years. Depends on the weather. Depends on the contracts. So just answering. It's nice when someone actually asks a question. Does that make sense? Like a normal question, like what crops do you grow, as opposed to you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, soybeans is gonna get. I don't think people remember how badly Trump
Oh,
fucked
he
the
fucked that
soybean
up. He fucked
farmers
that up
back in.
badly.
Of
It
course
was
they did,
bad.
because he then gave them a huge subsidy. So half of those farmers like, oh, Trump's the greatest. He bailed us out. They don't realize he got them into that mess.
Yeah, they don't
And the
remember
sun,
he screwed it up. They just remember the check on the backside.
but and that's the thing is that the check they got probably wasn't. I don't think it was worth. I mean, it was maybe worth three-quarters of the market value.
Yeah. Well, and the
This
other
is not.
thing I've said before too is that yeah, he bailed you out in the first time around, but he's transactional. He needs something in return. He needed votes. He doesn't need that anymore. I don't think there's going to be any bailouts for these people this time because there's no money on the
Yeah,
table for them.
we're
So
fucked. Yeah.
I don't know about you, JD, but we're now having an interesting conversation. So, well, do you work in a cooperative? Do you basically have a cooperative system where you are? Is that the main?
I just work with my neighbor basically,
Okay,
but we our farm is part of a co-op of other farms, so we all share the same elevator and like
exactly. That's
yeah.
what I meant. And so we're now having a conversation. We've had a conversation. You don't get much beef in Nebraska, but you do have a few specialty providers. And we are having a serious conversation. We just look at the cost of drying, we look at the cost of transportation, and there is a not zero some chance this year that 30% of whatever goes to the elevator will just go on a truck and will go no more than 30 miles. And it won't go for yes, it will go for feeding cattle, but it will not go at cattle feed prices.
Right.
It'll go to high pedigree, high value breeding programs,
Yeah,
and,
you,
and
Yeah.
you
and
really
and
have to
finishing
look at
farms.
other really got to look at other options.
Yeah.
I We had our seed locked in before Trump was elected, so we didn't really know what was going to happen. But next year, I'd really like to look at the food grade market and kind of diversify a little bit.
I was actually just going to ask that question. Like, would you you do soybeans and corn, but would you venture into other things depending on the market?
Well, you can still raise corn and soybeans, but do like non-GMO or organic, and you can sell it on a different market. Like my neighbor actually, the guy down the road actually raises white corn, so that goes into your tortilla chips and stuff.
Hmm. We do red corn.
That sounds racist.
Yeah.
Is it, JD? Is it hard to do the organic and non-GMO with other farms next to you? Like, do you all have to cooperate? Because I know it like can contaminate each other, across the
Yeah,
fields and stuff. Is that?
it can be kind of tricky. I mean, there are some fields that are more optimal for organic than others, and there's a lot more labor involved too. Um, Way more labor, but I don't know. There is a big market for it, and the price per bushel is like easily triple of what you get like
No, I know it's triple in the grocery store, so I'm guessing it's triple for you.
So one of the things which we did a change we made 2 years ago, is about one third. So we do a rotation system, but one third of the wheat, which represents two-thirds of everything we do, but one third of that is now traditional. So it's good old-fashioned traditional dwarf wheat. It's a 30-year-old variety, and the big thing about it is we brown bag it. And every year we get a nasty gram and a knock on the door from Monsanto telling us that what we're doing may or may not be wrong and we can be sued for that. And every year we say, go F yourself, because we can divide the property lines really easy because there's major roads and stuff like that. And we're like, no, that third is that. We're buying from you for that, but we are not buying from you for that. And trust me, they come round when we stun the crop. We know they're around and looking to make sure that there's height variations, to make sure that we didn't accidentally put some um you know uh, monophosphate resistant strain in the ground. They really are paranoid, and it's just about making money. um but I did teach my wife's cousins how to hack the John Deere last winter. We went out there, and I taught them how to I taught them how to override the system so they can do most of the servicing themselves now.
Hey,
Um,
Nice.
could you guys explain something to me?
yeah.
Because I don't know shit about farming. I'm just gonna be honest with you. When you see those signs that are put out there that say Monsanto and then they have a number on them, what does that mean?
So, JD, you're the real farmer. I'm the hobbyist.
I didn't hear the question. What was it?
I said
That
when you
he was asking about yield trial fields, where they put the sign up with the logo and the number on
Yeah.
the roadside.
what does that
Yeah.
mean?
What about them?
I don't understand what it
Well,
means.
well, that's just a trial plot where they plant different. They plant different kinds of like different varieties of like soybeans. They'll have like different seed traits and things like that that they kind of you can plant them next to each other or kind of compare.
Oh, so
And
so
then
And
do they?
you can
I,
monitor your inputs very closely, and then you're monitoring the outputs from it. So you get a true margin call on a particular tract. It's usually one combine wide.
but I guess my question is the sign for them or is the sign for you?
both,
Both,
Okay, okay,
both,
because you can't
understood.
because
mix them.
well, the company is going to gather data on it, and then also like for farmers driving by, they can say, "Wow, that number looks really good," or whatever. But
I got it. Okay.
Well, John, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm going to try to get a bunch of other people there. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd get a British guy who happens to be a comedian, and we'd be talking about farming. But it's fucking crazy, crazy. And I appreciate it, John. And again, when you're less busy, send me an email. We'll put you on the podcast. And anytime we do a live, make sure you pop up here too if you can.
I will. If I can ask one thing, thanks for having me. If anybody's following this, hit the follow. Not because I'm desperate for these, but I really want to get this satire-driven news out there, and so any help I can get on that is truly appreciated. I don't make money off it, but I just
How do
want
they
better
find it?
info. Just follow my. It's all here on my page. Just hit the follow on British John Comedy, and I put it up once, sometimes twice a day if something really catches my eye. But it's a single 3 minute, and I promise you this: I'll always try and be funny, but as my wife says, it doesn't always work out that way. Um, but yeah, she's still threatening to call ICE if I don't take out the trash on time.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
She's good.
I try to be funny too, and sometimes it works, and other times I really piss off a lot of people, which is just as satisfying to me. I enjoy pissing certain types of people off.
That is my happy place. Hey, God bless you all. Be well, be safe, and don't listen to anybody you don't trust. Have fun, boys and girls.
Absolutely. Thank you. A
Thanks, John.
British John Comedy. He's been on before. I want to get some other people up here. You mentioned Dolphin. Let's bring her up. Kind of get off the farming thing. I have a feeling Dolphin wants to talk about something other than farming. Dolphin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you
What's on
doing?
your mind? What's on your mind, girl?
You earlier you guys were talking about the whole drilling thing. I was wondering if you saw what he posted on his Untrue Social about the Keystone XL pipeline.
That's a joke. What did he say?
Okay, hold on one second.
The Keystone XL pipeline is not a thing. It never came to fruition.
I
It's just
know. Well, so he's
this is
saying,
in my area of expertise because it's pipe and it's part of my international like scope of work. So I know a lot about pipelines.
oh, I know. Well, he's basically saying, that the Keystone XL pipeline was viciously jettisoned by the incompetent Biden administration should come back to America and get it built now. I know they were treated very badly by Sleepy Joe Biden, but the Trump administration is very different. Easy approval, almost immediate start. If not them, perhaps another pipeline company. We want the Keystone XL pipeline built.
Okay, and here's the thing. There's zero benefit for America to build that pipeline
I know.
because that pipeline carries Canadian oil sand oil, which can't be refined into fuel. It's junk oil that's used to build other products in the petroleum industry. So it's a joke. All it is a shortcut to the Gulf. Nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't benefit America in any way. It doesn't affect gas prices. It doesn't affect anything for America. It's just moving Canadian oil from point A to point C. That's all it is.
I no,
But
I
how
get
good?
that.
What's the value if we can't get Canadian oil anymore? Because he fucking tariffed those people up there.
Well, that's
it's just
true.
ridiculous.
Well,
Well,
that and
I was.
he
I'm sorry.
well, that it didn't end under Joe Biden. It ended under the Trump administration when the
True.
Supreme Court
I
said,
know.
"Out you go, no way."
The Supreme Court did close. They did rule on that, and they closed that before Biden was even president. So it's a
Yeah,
joke.
during Trump's
It's a
last
fucking joke.
administration.
But
It's
this
been
is
a
the way
talking
I'm.
point ever since.
This is the way I'm looking at it, though, guys. If you've ever noticed that, quite a bit lately, well, even back in 1991, he attacked the indigenous population. Because of the whole casino thing. He felt like he
Yeah.
was being cheated and whatnot. Well, and now he's saying that indigenous people, basically aren't citizens. He's trying to remove their, whatever, and now all of a sudden, I know for a fact that the Keystone XL pipeline was shut down because of the fact that it was going to be going into indigenous land under in their waterways, and
Right.
I honestly believe that this is just another attack on the indigenous people. That's what I believe.
I think you're
he's a
probably right.
vengeful little prick, and he's going to attack everybody who he believes either wronged him or he felt cheated by.
Well, I think it's part of that, but it's also just the simple fact that ever since it was shut down under his administration, but Joe Biden was the one to sign the final thing saying, okay, this project is officially dead. It has been a talking point by people on his side, and I think he's just playing to that because he's too stupid to know what actually happened.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a dumb talking point. It doesn't really mean anything.
No.
I think the fact that the indigenous folks were worried about leakage and their waterways and their land and stuff was legitimate, and that's why apparently the Supreme Court shut it down. It's just like Donald Trump saying that Joe Biden's plan to pull people out of Afghanistan was horrible. It was Donald Trump's motherfucking plan. He just didn't have the balls to pull it off. Joe Biden did what the plan said, and then they blamed Joe Biden. Well, it's Donald Trump's plan. Same thing with the Keystone XL thing. It's a joke. It doesn't bring us more oil. It doesn't bring down our gas prices. In no way does it do that.
And you know
Oh no,
what?
I know. It's not even. You can't even
People
use
have
it.
people have no idea the amount of pipelines that exist in this country. If you look at the pipeline map, it's like spaghetti across the entire country. Like people have no clue. Like there's so many fucking pipelines in this country. It's crazy. They think that oh yeah, the liberals are gonna ban all pipelines. There's pipelines out the ass in this country, everywhere. Every jurisdiction in this country has pipelines.
Yeah, there was one that just opened not that long ago here in Iowa that went through land miles outside of where I live. And there was a big fight about it going around at the time because everyone was pissed because the state wanted to use eminent domain to take the land. And I believe they did.
Well, that's crazy. I mean, it's okay. I don't have a problem with pipelines going through private property with a right of way. I have no problem with that. But taking people's property for eminent domain is a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate eminent domain for purely for profit. There's
Yeah, I don't mind eminent domain when, like, for example, okay, I used to be the chairman of Urban Redevelopment Authority, so I was. They basically deal with, urban blight, things like that, and so sometimes when properties get blighted, we take them by eminent domain because the owner absolutely refuses to repair the property to the point where it's collapsing in on itself, right?
Right.
And I have no problem with that because that owner obviously is not going to fix that property, and it creates a hazard for the community. But to take someone's property away because you want to put a pipeline in there, that's not the same thing. That's absolutely unacceptable.
My grandfather owned some land. He had some farmland that was on his personal property where his house was, and they eminent domained some of his farmland property for a sewer system for a community that was right behind his property. Which I feel is okay, but like it wasn't for profit, it was for necessity.
I just want to point something out. People who don't think we have enough pipelines. TJ just said that if you look at a map with pipelines around America, it looks like spaghetti. So I thought, fuck it, I'll just Google pipeline map of the United States of America. First thing that comes up is the American Petroleum Institute, and I'm looking at the map, and it looks like the amount of varicose veins that must be on Chuck Grassley's legs at 96 years old. There's a lot.
Hey, Mike.
There's a lot of fucking pipelines.
It's like the New York City subway system. That's what it looks like.
Mike, am I wrong about it? Look at the map. Am I wrong?
No, it touches just about every state.
It's fucking crazy.
And from Minnesota down to Texas, it's almost indistinguishable. There's so many.
Yeah, it's crazy how many pipelines there are. But the general public doesn't know that.
No.
We
should let them know.
The public doesn't know.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I just wanted to bring that up. I just, I have an untrue social account. I just gotta write down or take pictures of his gems that he likes to put out. So,
well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Dolphin.
I love
yeah,
it.
and Rebecca, the woman's name from Idaho was Teresa Borens Poole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
thank you for having me. And
Thank you, Dolphin. I
you guys have a
appreciate it
wonderful
very
rest
much.
of your night. I need to get some sleep.
I get it. Thank you. Thank you, Dolphin.
Hey,
You're welcome
Dolphin.
anytime.
What?
Dolphin, you've been dancing all day. You need to go to bed.
No, actually, I haven't. My mom, I was in the ER with my mom this morning.
Oh.
Been having.
Sorry to hear that.
She's supposed to have this swallow test with barium or something next month, but they're making her wait a month. And today I watched my mom's lips go blue. So we took her to the ER, and they gave her a choice. They said they could admit her, and then she could most likely get the test done the next day, or she could go home, come back, and then start it all over. Which the guy said, no, don't do that. And then he said, or you can just go home and wait for your appointment. My mom, I've been depressed and crying just about all damn day. Said I'm gonna go home and wait for my appointment. So it was a very, very big waste of time to take her to the ER. And I live here by myself, and I'm scared to sit there. Every single time she eats, she can't swallow. She can't. I'm sorry, Mr. Boomer. I'm gonna go.
No, it's no problem. I appreciate your issues here, and I think we've all gone through certain similar things with our elderly parents, and now at approaching 65, hopefully my kids won't go through with me. I'll just fade away someplace. But it's tough. I understand it, and it's very traumatic. So our thoughts are with you.
Thank you very much. I'll
Thank
see
you,
you guys.
Dolphin. Thank you. To go through that, and also all this other bullshit that's going on, I'm going to pull a couple people up here. And this is a shot in the dark. I don't know this person. I don't know that we've had them on before.
No.
But we will see what they say. And it looks like they're not coming up. Okay. We will disregard that one. We've got a few others that we know. This lady's been on before, Caldwell. Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Not too bad. What's on your mind?
Good. I just had a comment about the election issues you were talking about earlier and the different ideas about, whether or not we should develop a third party. And, it's kind of complicated. It's hard to come up with a good resolution to that thought. I think a third party wouldn't be enough parties if you were going to do it at all. But we might want to start doing more research on ranked choice voting instead. And it wouldn't matter whether we had 2 parties or 100 parties, right? Because you
that's a good point.
Ranked choice vote. And I know it's sort of like a popularity contest to a degree, but it could also be very effective when you have candidates, especially in local government elections, who can be really well researched and vetted. And it
Why
wouldn't
don't
matter what party they align themselves with if you are supporting their platform.
why don't you explain that to people that don't know what it is, ranked choice voting?
Okay,
Ex-
basically, it's almost exactly what it sounds like. Say there are 10 candidates for a position, doesn't matter what position it is. Everyone whose vote, and it might encourage other people who wouldn't normally vote, can rank those 10 candidates in order of their personal preferences. And then the
Okay.
votes would be counted and they would be grouped by the top, say they take the top 3 out of the 10, right? But you would still know how many people voted for each of those candidates in a ranking order. And the person with the most votes would essentially be the winner. If there were
Right.
a tie, then there would be another part of the process that would be implemented for anything that would come close to a tie. So basically, whether you have 2 parties or you have 10 or even more than that, but God forbid you don't want it to be that complicated, because then you've got a lot of dilution in the vote, right? If you've got too many people running,
Right.
you would be able to narrow down the people that were doing either the best job at advertising and campaigning and influencing the population, or the best people that are actually for the job. Because, as I said, at any level it could work, at the local level all the way to the presidency. And you wouldn't have to be fighting in each category of how many parties do we allow to be quote unquote like legitimate, right? How
Right.
many do we recognize? It doesn't have to be the same in every state, even. So people that wanted to run, say, for governor, it wouldn't be Democrat against Republican necessarily when you got down to the primaries, even.
There are some states that do this, isn't there?
There are a few
Uh,
that have done it very successfully. I do believe Idaho was one that did it a few times, and also another state, and I can't remember which one. But it was
Alaska.
on more or less of a more local level
Right.
for representatives and for local government and representation. I'm not sure if it was used for something as high as the governor's position. I'd have to go research that. But it has been documented and it has been well explained in the states that have experimented with it, and it has been relatively successful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's worth looking at. I mean, any option is something different than we already have. Obviously, this isn't working. Democrats and Republicans control too much. They push out third parties, and they just maintain control, and we still get the same shit over and over again. And we're coming to a point when all this stuff crashes and everything goes badly. There's going to be a lot of people interested in some changes in the way everything is run. So maybe that's an opportunity we can at least present that as a possibility.
Yeah, I think it needs more. It's not getting enough attention because I think it gives the 2 parties that exist currently as the most powerful, obviously, a cause for concern, right? Because it probably
Yeah.
would be pretty easy to implement if it got more attention. And
Yeah.
by squashing it and squelching it, it doesn't have, because it's, if you think about it, it's actually not that difficult a concept. I think almost anybody, even somebody with a 6th grade education, could understand what ranking means, right?
Right.
It's not, and we wouldn't have to then say, well, you're in the Green Party or you're in the Independents or you're a who cares? It doesn't matter. You're a politician or a wannabe politician. You have this platform and people are going to support it. Yes or no, right?
Yeah. 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 Unfortunately, with Republicans, a sixth grade education would become a rarity because I don't think they reach that level at this point. Donald Trump speaks at a sixth grade level, and
Yeah.
everybody that follows him is slightly dumber than he is. So
Yeah.
I
We
think it's
definitely have a
yeah, I think it's a good
comprehension
idea.
problem. We definitely have
Yeah.
a comprehension problem. And I saw an example of that today, and now I can't remember what it was, a video where someone made a statement and in the comments, there were multiple people attacking the statement, and it actually wasn't what was said, and it was in pretty plain language. So, yes, we see it on a regular basis that people don't understand word usage, they have issues with vocabulary, and they just have a general unknowing of just the most simple processes of our government. The most simple.
I wanted to bring something up for all of you to respond about. We know what's going on with the Republicans, the members of the House that are going back to their districts and holding town halls. It's gone horribly.
Yes.
They get pounded on. I think this is a good sign of things to come. But already there's a Republican out there that said all these were started by outside agitators. The distraction, the diversion has already started. Now there were no disruptors in the Minneapolis riots. That was all Antifa. But
By outside
these
agitators,
people,
they mean Democrats, right? That's what they mean.
yeah, that's the presumption. Yeah,
Right. Well, I mean, but they're seeing now wholly Republican communities that were holding these town hall meetings, rejecting what's being said to them. So you can't, and these are recognizable members of their community. So you can't say they're outside agitators
yeah.
because people in the community in the audience know these people and they know who they are and they know they're members of the community. So right at this moment, it's successful because they were taken by surprise, but they're going to come up with some kind of, workaround. You watch, the Republicans are going to do something even more evil than they've already been doing.
Well, they're a
Yeah,
cult.
no doubt.
They're gonna do
As
it.
is, sorry, JD, go ahead.
No. I mean, it's a cult. I mean, like Denise said on the podcast today, the Republicans in Congress are in a cult, and they live in their own little bubble. And so someone is going to come up with some harebrained idea to justify what's going on, and all those people are just going to go along with that and say, well, it can't be the repercussions of our actions. There's no way.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, again, the Democrats are still, and you mentioned Hakeem earlier, Rational Boomer, and
Yeah.
I'm so disgusted with his behavior lately that I have no respect for that man whatsoever. He has turned into the biggest pussy in that entire part. I thought Chuck Schumer was a pussy. He's an old man living in the old world, wanting to do things the old way. But Hakeem is better than this. He's a young, progressive, and he's an intelligent, educated man. And he has suddenly now completely folded like a cheap suit. Completely.
Yeah. It is disgusting and disappointing because I liked Hakeem Jeffries at first, but I don't trust him now.
Not at all. I had so much hope for him. So much hope for him. And not to be, to beat a dead horse and not to be prejudicial in any way, but to say that it's still the women standing up and standing their ground and speaking out. Look at the governor of Maine. Look at AOC.
Yeah,
They're threatening her, and she's still speaking out.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
And Jasmine
Absolutely.
Crockett, too.
Yeah, but no one's
Jasmine
threatened
Crockett.
Jasmine yet. Ironically enough, isn't that funny that Jasmine has been very outspoken and has been interviewed on national TV networks recently, I think 3 times in the last 2 weeks, and no one has attacked her.
Yeah.
I have a theory on.
Yeah, but she's a
I have a
lawyer too. They know she's a lawyer.
I have a theory on that based on my own experience. There's a lot of people that do what I do on TikTok, and they're always getting death threats. They're getting all kinds of threats against them, and I never get those. I never get those. I get people calling me names and saying,
because you don't
give a
show
shit
any
about that.
fear. You don't show any fear.
That's exactly right. And that's the point I'm trying to. They're afraid somebody like Jasmine Crockett. They're bullies, so they don't want pushback. And somebody like Jasmine Crockett already called Marjorie Taylor Greene out and made her look like a fool. And they know that's what Jasmine Crockett will do. And they know what anybody like me or Jasmine Crockett will say, fuck you. I'm not scared of you. I'm going to fuck you up.
Yep.
And they're terrified of that. AOC seems a little easier going because she's
more timid.
Yeah, she's a little more timid and a little more. Well, Jasmine is unpredictable. You don't know what she's going to do. You know that AOC is going to kind of fall in line with the political decorum. Jasmine is like Donald Trump. She might call your shit out and spew something that you don't want heard.
Oh, absolutely. In one of the hearings early on in 2024, at the end of 2024, she actually told them to their faces that they were liars. And
Yeah.
she said liar. She doesn't use a soft language. She doesn't dance around it. She says it as it is, and she says it eloquently. So she doesn't lower herself to their level, but she calls them out on a level they can understand, and they understand what's being said to them.
She's too young in Congress, but she's the person we need as the Speaker of the House when we finally have it. We need
Yeah.
some tough motherfucker that's going to push their face in it and be tough. We haven't really had that. Pelosi was a good, and she was tough in a subtle way because she was so wily and she knew what was going on. But we're in a different world now. We've got people picking up sticks and rocks and fighting in the mud. We need somebody who can do that in order to compete with these people.
Yeah. See, Hakeem is too buttoned up. He's like Cory Booker, who is in my
Yeah.
state, who I have no respect for either. They're too buttoned up now. They're too, and not really to blame them entirely, because they are black men and they are trying to not be used in a negative way, right?
Right.
So they
They're more
definitely
under the
have to,
microscope.
right. They have to, their decorum is probably being, directed by that knowledge, right? But Jasmine is a black woman and she knows the same thing they know, and yet she doesn't let it stop her. So she speaks the truth because she knows her facts when she walks in. And they do too. And they've been disappointing because we do live in a patriarchy, and we're looking to the men who were trying to change things to stay the course, and they're backing down.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
She is
Jasmine Crockett is Sea Temptation with a law degree. And
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
she
No, she's
Jasmine
powerful.
Crockett is the exact reason why we need age limits instead of term limits.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's my mantra.
And AOC, I give her credit, but they keep pulling her and trying to drag her down because she has a basic college education, right? She doesn't have any specialty degrees, and that her last job was as a bartender, and they throw that in her face constantly. And she's had a couple of good comebacks, but she just doesn't have that street fighting instinct.
No, she's a little more refined, and that's fine. I like AOC. I think she's done a great job. But I will say this: if people are being disregarded because of their education level, I went to college for 1 year, and I will challenge any Harvard graduated Trumplafuck that wants to talk about facts and truth. Come on,
Oh,
embarrass
absolutely.
me.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I don't have to be smart if I got facts and truth and law on my side.
Well,
And
you know
that's
who's
been
been
proven
doing a
over and
great
over
job
again.
with that too is Eric Swalwell. Eric Swalwell, I mean Eric Swalwell
Yeah, he
in
does a good job
California.
too.
He's been
Yeah,
he's been stepping up too and being, he dropped the F-bomb a couple times in an interview. He's starting to decide to take the cape off now, right, and just be like, all right, we're up to fisticuffs now.
yeah. I always like Eric Swalwell, and I've seen him on TikTok say the word "fuck" a number of times. So I go, I like that guy. I like
Yeah,
that guy.
yeah.
Anybody who can do that and maybe worry, everybody's got this decorum. He's understanding that there is no more decorum. There is no rule of law. We have to understand that they aren't believing or following law or decorum. So we need to play that fucking game, but do it better than they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, the ultra conservatives, whatever you want to call them, they basically have dropped all ability to abide by any normal processes, and now
Yeah.
they go right for the knees, right? They're going right for the knees. They are not going to play fair. This, like what's happening now, when you said the second that they got over one run, now they're saying that there were plants in the audience. Like
Yeah.
they will resort to lying immediately. And when someone is going to lie that quickly, you have to be ready for that with a retort immediately. Because remember, people remember what they hear first, not the truth. They remember what they hear first. And whoever throws the first rock usually winds up getting the attention.
Well, yeah, and the thing about it is these representatives won't be doing town halls anymore because they're terrified. But we've got to ramp it up. We've got to have protesters or people calling them out at their offices as they walk into the Capitol, as they walk into a restaurant, as they walk into a store. They've got to be inundated with people that are unhappy and disappointed in what they do, and they need to be let know that that's the case. So if we're going to convince them to make a change, they've got to be buried with this kind of response. And hopefully it'll continue like this as they continue to do fucked up shit.
Yeah. Hey, I have a comment on this real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but like all the couple of examples that we've seen with the
Town halls?
town hall meetings, yeah. So they've been a disaster for the Republicans. So
Yeah.
Right.
everybody who has a Republican legislator like we do here, you should ask them to have a town hall meeting. Ask them to have it and
Yeah.
see what they do. Because they're cowards.
Yeah, they
And-
are.
And
They are.
and you can call them out for being cowards for not having a town hall meeting.
Well, you can win.
Well, some
too.
Democrats.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Some Democrats are having rough times at meetings too. What the fuck are you doing? Why
Yeah.
aren't you doing anything? So
Well,
the
yeah.
Democrats are getting the heat too.
And
Yeah.
well, they should, because what are they doing? They've been promising us since before November 5th that they were going to be looking at everything, right? What did Harris say? We're watching them. We're watching you. Watching what? Because when Florida refused to allow the auditors in, no one did anything to force the issue. Where was
Right.
the National Guard? They could have forced the issue. It's an election. It's a federal election. It doesn't belong to your state. It's a federal election. Why weren't things done then? That's when I start to see it crumbling. And then that night of the election, when they were calling states with less than 10% of the votes even in yet, and nobody was objecting, and the news fell in line to reporting Donald Trump the winner, Donald Trump the winner, Donald Trump the winner. I mean, you can go on and on with facts and evidence of what we witnessed from 2 days before, straight through the election, and for all the lies that we were told by Democrats. And I'm holding Harris responsible for some of this as well. When she got out there the day before Thanksgiving and got everybody hyped up about, oh, we got to come on our Zoom call, it's going to be an important call, and had people sign up, and we went there with bated breath. And the second Tim Walz opened his mouth, I knew we were done. The look
Yeah.
on his face of disappointment, he could not hide the fact that he knew there was nothing being done. It was all over his face. And then I received a what do you call it? A survey from the Harris campaign through a text message that wanted us to give them back feedback on what we thought about that Zoom call. And I let them have it. And they never responded back when I said, you're lying to the people. You're not doing anything. And as soon as Tim Walz opened his mouth, we all knew it.
Yeah.
And then they kept on lying and kept on letting people tell, and all the people on TikTok that were lying and telling people things were happening behind the scenes. That was all that did was keep us from fighting back sooner. And that was, I think that was the worst thing. I will never trust the Democrats again. They completely abandoned the people, lied to our faces just to keep things quiet until inauguration because they didn't want the public to do what they're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating with the Democrats. You're right. We could have been fighting right in the beginning, but they tried to placate us by saying, oh, something's happening. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll just sit back and wait. It's definitely going to happen. And I told people, I said, this is no different than what the Republicans did in 2020. Why are you buying into this? I mean,
Right.
even if there was some things going on that were untoward, which they probably were, the history that we've watched of Democrats and the DOJ of doing nothing, why would you think anybody would jump up and actually do something for once?
Right. And they were being given all kinds of evidence. And it is the idea that, they were going to, again, take the high road. They were going to say, decorum mattered more than us fighting back from the beginning. And no one stepped up, not one Democrat, not even at the mid-range level did one person verbally, outwardly express any doubt that they were going to do nothing, and they let it just fester. Where people were, I mean, I was on lives where people were literally in tears from worry and concern, and the people running the lies were telling them, "Oh, no, no, don't worry. It takes time. They're investigating." All
Yeah.
the things that we said about Merrick Garland, and look what happened. We don't learn.
Yeah, it was a disservice. The Democrats from the election to now have done a disservice to this country, disservice to the Democratic people. And that's what's so frustrating. We know we can't trust the Republicans, and now they put us in a situation where we don't think we can trust the Democrats. There's maybe a handful of Democrats that I feel confident about. The rest, I don't know what to think.
Yeah.
And it seems like there are only other choice, either a shit show or somebody who doesn't lacks integrity or lacks courage to do anything.
Oh,
There's
and
no
to the
good.
comments down here, it isn't Jill Stein there, dearie. It ain't Jill Stein. No,
No.
no. It more like it's Bernie. He just started going around speaking again, and they're calling it the Fight the Oligarchy tour, right? And he just spoke. I
Yeah.
think it was in Wisconsin, maybe, and to a roaring crowd, and that is a red state. And again, Bernie is trying to bring enlightenment to the American public. And he's old now. He's even if we wanted him to run now, I don't think he has it in him to do it.
He's the same age as Biden.
Yeah, but
I mean, if you
look what
didn't
they
like
did.
Biden
They
was
rejected him. You think by the time 2028 comes, they're going to be supporting Bernie if he's still around? They're not going to support Bernie. And it's not just for his
no.
age. There's for other reasons too, but that's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's
Bernie's been
too.
predicting this for 30 years, since I was in high school.
Bernie is 83 years old. He's older than Joe Biden.
Yeah.
People need to stop talking about Bernie for president because he's never
Yeah.
going to be
It's
president.
not going to happen. But can he lead the charge of enlightening people? Yes, he can. But Bernie needs to support someone who has the ability to do something, and they need to team up, because he
Yeah.
alone is not going to be enough change for the American public, going on tour telling us about all the things we did wrong and the things we could do to change that, when he has nobody that he's supporting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Caldwell Cutie, I'm going to wrap things up. We're about at that
Sure.
point. I want to say thanks to JD, TJ the plumber, Rebecca, Analytical Iowan, Eric, and all the other folks that joined us today. I appreciate it immensely. It's always good to talk about this and talk amongst us, and hopefully get some information that's valuable to people, because the more people that know shit, they can tell other people, and that's how you get kind of a groundswell. So thank all you folks.
Good night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ray.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
For those of you sticking with us, understand a couple of things. We appreciate you taking the time to do that. This live will be the podcast, not tomorrow, but the next night. You'll be able to get it on YouTube, and you'll be able to get it on Spotify, just the audio version. So by all means, check it out. Again, thank you very much. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again very soon.